Press Here is available as a podcast on iTunes.
Welcome back to Press Here. I want to take you out to a lab at UCSF hospitals where doctors are working with virtual reality and other tech tools to spread medical knowledge around the world. Here's a video conference between doctors in the Bay Area and doctors in Cameroon. The nonprofit Health for the World uses video apps and VR to spread knowledge. Now, it's hard to show virtual reality on television, but here's a glimpse at what doctors and patients are looking at as they work to understand stroke. Dr. Bhavya Rouhani is CEO of the nonprofit behind this effort, Health for the World. Thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So you are a professional doctor, you are a professor at UCSF, and you run a charity as well.
That's right.
And find the time to do all of those.
It's amazing. It's so fulfilling that it's worth it.
What originally inspired this?
So, I used to visit my granddad in a small village in India, and he had no access to doctors, and he suffered a huge stroke, and it was sad to see that he did not have access to basic medical services. So, growing up, I wanted to do something to bring health to people who do not have access to doctors in villages around the world. So that inspired the formation of Health for the World, to bring health to people who do not have access to doctors.
So I want to ask you, I'm maybe taking a quantum leap, but can VR eventually be used in real life surgery?
It can. Right now, I think the way it has progressed in the last few years, utilizing VR for robotic surgeries is certainly in the horizon. So it can.
The reason why I ask you that is there's a documentary that just came out about AI, and one of the examples they show is an actual surgery taking place involving an ovary. So I'm just wondering, in the case of VR, would it be kind of very limited in its scope of use, and kind of typical scenario, what type of surgery might be used?
So it can be used for surgical planning, like for example for pediatric fractures. To see the fractures in 3 dimensions, and to see what's the best approach to take towards a fracture. It has already been used for separation of conjoined twins. So to see the anatomy better of how the twins are joined, and and to understand how to operate without causing the least damage.
I'm sorry, in the example that you were giving in pediatric surgery,
Yeah.
Is that something where you can upload from the site the actual data from the specific patient to the site, so it can be used remotely by doctors here in the U.S. or somewhere else?
Yes. So you can upload the 3D model of the patient, of the fracture of the bone, and then once you upload it on the website or on the web platform, you can actually share it with doctors, discuss it with video conferencing, or what the best surgical approach would be, and then go from there.
You're also using VR headsets to teach patients in these remote locations, 22 countries, right?
Yes.
In 22 different countries, about their own health and stroke recovery, that sort of thing. I'm imagining somebody in Cameroon putting on a VR headset for the first time, because anybody who puts a VR headset on for the first time just thinks it's the coolest thing in the world. You must get funny reactions where you're trying to teach them something, and it's like, well, hold on a minute. What's their reaction when they put on a VR headset?
It's amazing. They love it. It's so cool, and they laugh and they smile because it's so interactive and immersive.
Right.
So the first time we gave a VR headset to a stroke patient, and it was a VR video of a beach, and we said, imagine yourself walking on this beach and imagine touching the water. And so he looked up, he looked at the sky, he looked down, he looked at the sand, he looked on the side, and then the mind exercises were coming up, and it was amazing.
Now, why do you have a stroke patient imagine on a beach? Is it a stress sort of thing?
It's based on the scientific principle of motor imagery. So if imagine a stroke patient who cannot move his body, who's paralyzed from head to toe, and if the only thing the patient can do is actually imagine an action. So if you give the patient a VR headset and say that, okay, imagine that you're going to walk on this beach, or imagine you're going to touch the wave, that actually stimulates the motor cortex in the brain. So that's the power of imagination, and that's a scientific concept of motor imagery. And what VR does is it immerses the stroke patient into that environment and helps them do this mind exercise based on motor imagery.
Now, is that just good for the health of their brain, or does it actually help them move again?
That's a very good question. It actually helps them move again because it stimulates the motor cortex in the brain. So it stimulates those neurons. So it actually helps in regaining mobility. with time.
What can VR do that maybe traditional training for a medical student can't? I mean, what dimension does it bring? How does it change maybe the way they learn or the process in which they learn?
That's a very good question. So I worked with some medical trainees and they told me that medical anatomy is so boring. You know, you're trying to learn it from two-dimensional books, and these are three-dimensional structures in the body. And so they said, we want to learn three-dimensional anatomy. You know, so what VR does, which is different from traditional teaching, is, for example, if you have a brain aneurysm and you wear a VR headset, you can actually walk around the aneurysm. You can see what arteries attach to the aneurysm. You can understand the brain anatomy. You can flip the aneurysm and see, you know, if there's a daughter aneurysm. So it just understands, it makes the, first of all, anatomy very exciting, and also it helps in deeper understanding of the anatomy rather than a two-dimensional book.
Vivi, I've got about a minute left. I want to squeeze one more question in. There's 22 countries. Cameroon, I mentioned, was one of them.
Yes.
How do you pick where to send this technology and who to interact with?
That's a great question. We look for local champions. We look for local doctors or neurologists or primary care practitioners who are really passionate about improving stroke care. So then we contact them, and they have to be in a low resource setting and working in the rural areas to help who need the care the most. Once we get in touch with them, we ask them, do you want to work with us? And that's how we decide. You know.
And let's not throw this opportunity away, because you are a 501c3. If somebody wants to give you some money, I assume they're allowed to?
Yes.
How would they go about that?
You can visit our website, healthfortheworld.org, and you can donate directly. We are a completely volunteer-driven organization and driven by the passion of the volunteers.
Dr. Bavia Rouhani is with the charity. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, will rising interest rates kill cryptocurrency? The future of Bitcoin, when Press Here continues.